Hey everybody, how you doing? Tom Barnas here from the front stoop. I've been thinking about whether or not I should mention that I've been like on a little bit of a spiritual path lately because people think it's hooey. I've worked in the news business for a long time now, and so there's many people within the news business that anything spiritual is hooey because it's not fact, which I find hilarious because most religion is based on hearsay, or that somebody wrote it down 1,000 years ago, that they were singled out, that God spoke to them, like all these things that are not any more unbelievable than believing in spirituality. But I digress. But I recently, for mental health reasons more than anything else, I really wanted to learn the art of meditation, and I've been working on it. I haven't mastered it by any means, but I will share something because I have been around people of like-minded thoughts about spirituality for the last better part of 15 years of my life. And that's when I really started to discover different things to believe in or see about where we go afterwards when we're done with Earth, and what else is out there, outside of the traditional heaven and hell. Don't be this, or you go to hell, do this, and you'll get into heaven. I just feel like that is a very simplified version of what religion is and the afterlife and all that stuff. And I think it's only simplified because people are humans, right? Human beings try to simplify everything to make it make sense to them. And for me, spirituality doesn't necessarily have to completely make sense. I mean, it's a feeling more than anything, and it's a belief that there is more than what we can see, and we're all connected, right? And, when you have things that happen in your life that give you validity to that being true, then it becomes something that you really want to invest your time into understand, at least for me. So really quick, my spiritual journey, I just like anybody else, I went to go see a medium, and that medium had a profound effect on me because I thought they knew things that happened to me that I couldn't have possibly told them. And they weren't like, catastrophic things, but things nonetheless. And then they knew things that were going to come. I mean, I knew this one medium, and he's phenomenal. His name is Midwest Medium. His name's Mark, and he phenomenal. Probably one of the best mediums that I have ever had read me. And he was able to tell me things about things that were going to happen to me in 5 years from that date. And he like had this vision of me on a cliff in the Middle East overlooking a lake. And at the time, and I remember this like yesterday, I remember him telling me that. I'm like, what are you talking like in the Middle East? I'm not going to go to the Middle East. Well, sure enough, about 5 years later, I'm standing on a bluff overlooking the Sea of Galilee in Israel. So my job at the time took me to Israel, and I toured many parts of Israel, including Jerusalem. So it's the irony is that being spiritual got me to Jerusalem because which is spiritual in itself, but that's birthplace of like basically almost every religion, modern day Christianity, and everything else from that era of the world. That's where it kind of all started. So I really wanted to get into it more, connect with people that have passed, like my grandfather died when I was 6 years old. And I just always wanted to know more about him. And of course I would ask my grandma and my dad, and they would tell me things. And my cousins would remember my grandpa a little bit better than I did because I was 6. And my older cousins, they were like 12 or 10, when he passed. So they just knew him a little bit better. But that was devastating to our family to lose our grandpa, right? Because he was just grandpa. And I just felt like a connection. And so when I would go to these mediums, they would bring him up all the time. And it wasn't provoked, and it wasn't anything. They were just like, who's Mike? Who's this Mike guy that's passed? And that's my grandpa's name. So I'm summing up a lot of years quickly here, but it made me want to invest in it more and really understand it more. And, as I've been in the media business and the news business, I've met people who have these incredible gifts that can connect with the spiritual world. And they all have told me that I could easily be doing it and I should be doing it. I wonder sometimes if that's why they don't want to talk to me as much as they used to, because I probably make them second guess themselves or something. I don't know. But I really want to invest in meditating because I felt like that was a good mental health way for me to connect with that world without really needing anybody else to do it for me, you know? And I felt like that was important. So the first time, like, everybody's kind of meditated sort of on their own here and there. And I did too. But I really wanted to really make an effort to sit down and meditate. And that only really happened this year in this past summer. And that's why I want to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about like the first couple times I meditate. And of course, the first time I do it, I like go on YouTube and I find like the 15-minute meditation. I started doing like minute long ones at the gym, like in the hot tub, and then, minute long ones in the car. But I'm like, these seem to do the exact opposite. I'm trying to meditate in a car, then I'm worried about people staring at me thinking I'm sleeping or if somebody's gonna come and bother me. So it's kind of counterproductive is what I'm saying. So I go and find like this meditation for 15 minutes. That seems like a good amount of time for somebody who's just getting started with it. And I sit in my daughter's room, which doesn't sound as weird as it sounds because she's 11 months old. And she's not here during the day. She's over at Grammy's, because Grammy's taking care of her while we're working. So I sit in the chair where I rock her and my wife rocks her, and I close my eyes, I put the meditation on it, and I do my thing. And you listen to the prompts and you want to clear your brain and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is good. Like it's cleansing my soul. It's making me calm down. I mean, I can even visualize it right now as I'm sitting there and I'm breathing and I'm calming down. And then I think to myself, like, what am I supposed to do now? Right? Because this is so foreign to me. It's just not something that I've done. I'm 45 years old. So it's not like I'm not a spring chicken. So, I'm doing this. And then I really get into like the zone of like the breathing and just concentrating on breathing. And all of a sudden, boom, I get this vision in my brain. And it's crazy vision. And this is the first time I ever did this, or this is the first time it's ever happened to me. The vision is it was somebody holding a key like this, right? And it was like a black background, and the person just was like the hand was like floating in this black background, and it was holding a key, right? And I was like, what in the hell is this? This is incredible. And that was the first time I've ever meditated where I got something, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. So I wanted to hurry up and do it again the next day. And of course I did, and nothing happened, right? I think 3 or 4 times later, I'm meditating again, same thing. And then I get this vision of walking up a stairwell. And it's a stairwell of an old movie theater. And this doesn't sound crazy, just go with me on this. It was the Uptown Theater, but the Uptown Theater in the 1920s, not the Uptown Theater today. And you might be wondering, well, how would you know that, Tom? You've never been in. Oh, well, I have been in the Uptown Theater recently. In fact, I got a tour of the Uptown Theater, and it was incredible. It's a beautiful old movie palace. So, and it's been closed for 45 years. They're trying to figure out a way to get it open. I digress. Nonetheless, though, when it was built, it was a palace of the world. It was bigger in size as far as seats and the room, bigger, or maybe not in seats, but bigger in building size as Radio City Music Hall in New York. The only reason why this didn't have as many seats is because they created spaces for concessions, which was the first thing of its kind at the Uptown Theater in Uptown neighborhood in Chicago. So I'm walking up the Uptown, and I could hear like music from the 20s wafting around in this vision that I got as I am in just meditating, right? I see this, and we're walking up the stairs, and we get to the top of like this flight of stairs, and it's like a mezzanine level, and there's a door to the right, and somebody's guiding me, but I can't see that person, but I know they're there. That's the best way I can describe it. So then the key pops out again, right? And then the key like floats to the door, and the door opens. And I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. I couldn't make it up if I tried. I open up the door in the vision, and in the door is just the most beautiful light you can ever imagine. It's just like this bright light. But in the light itself, there are like, the best way I can describe it is like arteries. but the arteries are all different colors. So you got this ball of light, just like roaring, right? And bright as bright can be. And you got all these colors of veins going through the light. It almost looks like a heart beating with the veins, and you like seeing the blood go through the heart, but you're like, it's translucent and you can kind of see inside of a heart. It's kind of like that, but with light. And the veins were other lights, and it was pulsating through this thing. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, right? And in the space where the white light was, it was like a dark blue, and it would go into like a green vast like universe. And it was just like you step into this place and you just look this way, you look that way, you look up, you look down, and it's infinite, and it's just stunningly beautiful. And I'm perplexed. I don't even know, this is the first time I've talked about this in a while. um I don't really know what I'm looking at here. I just know that it's something bigger than me. And I've heard two theories on what I saw. The first theory of what I saw, somebody said to me, "You saw God." Now, I'm not going to claim that I saw God, because I wouldn't know if I saw God if I did see God. Um, but I feel like it was definitely um, something higher than, me, right? It was this incredible thing. And I'm not saying that I'm not worthy of it or anything like that. It didn't, it was bizarre because I wasn't scared. I was at peace. I was almost in awe in this thing. And the crazy thing was, I knew I was meditating in my daughter's room, because every once in a while I would like grip the chair I was in and I would feel it on my hands going, "Oh, I'm in Chicago." Like I'd like tap my right finger like on there, go knowing I'm there, but I'm also here. And I know I'm not dreaming, because I can hear the meditation sound, the music that's playing. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go with it. What the hell, right? So I go with it, and um, I really sat there, and like it was almost like a sound of like, you hear the sound, like I said, of like the meditation sound, but then this other sound was almost like, like when water is flushed and it passes over a pipe, and you hear that, like that. It was almost like that, but it was beautiful. It was enchanting. It really was. I can't describe it. I'm doing a terrible job of it outside of the visual, because the visual is profound. I got to try to draw it. But yeah, like the veins going through it that were the lights, right? And they were pulsing, and they were going inside of it, outside of it, around it. And this light, which is the most intense white light you can see. And it was almost like, it wasn't wide like this, it was narrow like this, and it narrowed out from the bottom and the top, but the inside was the most intense. The other theory that somebody told me that I saw, again, I'm not saying I'm not worthy, I just don't know, was that I saw an angel. And I could have. Why not? Who says? I mean, I guess I can believe whatever I say I believe that I saw. All I know is that I saw something, and it didn't terrify me. It made me excited, and it made me know for sure that what I've always suspected is that there's more to life than what we're seeing and where we're at today. Just the life on Earth is not life elsewhere, right? And I found the elsewhere for the first time in my life knowingly. I'm sure I dreamt it before. I'm sure I've had things happen, which I can get into later, as far as things happening where it's just like divine of how I can get out of things. But that one was incredible. So that was probably my most profound meditative experience. And another one that I want to share on here is, did the same thing. I meditated, and now I got like a little routine. I think about the key. I think about walking up the stairs, and I think about that room. And then I thought about it, and I sat with it, and I sat with it, and all of a sudden, I'm on a lake. And when I say I'm on a lake, I'm over the lake, hovering over it, but now no sound. Like I'm not even in physical form. I can't see my hands. I'm just there. It's the best way I can describe it. I'm just there. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I recognize this lake, right? It was a lake where my family and I, during the pandemic, we took a trip up to Wisconsin to like the North Woods. And we rented this house that was right on a lake where it's, in Wisconsin, you got the lake houses that are up because the lakes all go down, right? So you got your house up here, and then you got the winding stairs that are kind of lit by some lights. and you kind of come down and come down and come down to the dock, out onto the water. And at the end of the dock, there's like a light that kind of is on just to kind of light up the end of the dock. So, that you're about to fall in the water, I guess. But we had a great time at that lake, and we had some profound conversations with my brother about life. One time out on the lake, we just bonded as a family. It was the first time we were really able to get together and hang out and not worry about the pandemic, really. And this is just when things were starting to open. But so I'm like, I've been here before, except that was like 3 years ago, right? And I'm looking at the dock, and I can see the house off in the distance, and you can see it through the trees. It's summertime because you can see the leaves rustling in the wind. So the lights are kind of like flickering, and you kind of see the silhouette of the house, and then you see the lights pop through when the leaves kind of blow, right? And I just remember being completely at peace, and I just loved it. I just thought it was fantastic. And I had talked to a friend, and the friend I have talked to, her name is Bridget Rose. So if you want to look up Bridget Rose, she does readings, and she's phenomenal. She's a lovely human being. And she's really helped me a lot. She's taken time to help me find things, explore things, and encourage me to do my meditation. And when I told her all of these things, she had commented on the last one of like, well, that's your happy place. Like that is like, you should think of that place when you need to calm down, or when you just need to, reconnect back to the universe and, to ground yourself. So I thought that was fascinating. So those, and, I think about what I want this podcast to be, because, I just wanted to create a podcast just as a space to vent, or almost be like a journal. So I was really apprehensive to share this, because I'm putting this out there knowing that some people will think it's complete crap, and some people will really get something out of it. And I don't know hardly anybody that would see this video, but something very deep and personal to me, because I felt like other people needed to hear it. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. So that's what that is. And I'm going to continue to share my journey of meditating and finding out what happens, and spirituality and all the things. Because I feel like there's a lot of dudes out there that don't like to talk about this stuff because it's not cool for one reason or another. And it's funny, Bridget mentioned that I was her only male client, almost exclusively. Tons of female clients, not many male clients. So just this is not a thing, that men talk about or want to talk about spirituality in the way that I look at it. I feel like I'm the outlier in that. But if I can do it, I will. And I appreciate the space to be able to do something like that on this. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll sprinkle in all random things that I do throughout. I've been recently on paternity leave for the second time. I'm fortunate to work at a place where they give you 12 weeks as a father to take your paternity leave, and you don't have to take it all at once. You can take it, you can break it up. It just has to be in week increments. And that's what I did. And it was incredible to be able to have that time with my daughter, with my family, and with my wife. And I just finished being on paternity leave, and I have some observations about how people treat you as a man on paternity leave. I'll get into that for the next video, because it's interesting, and something even today, like, you don't answer somebody's email within a day and they think that the world's falling. So, and then they start texting you, which is really great, because it's like, if I don't answer you an email, what makes you think I'm going to answer you in text about something that's not happening for 6 months? Just saying. I know. I digress. Good times. And I'll share this little fun thing at the end. You see this right here? So this is kind of what's been going on in the news, right? We had ice in Chicago for all this time. And I mentioned earlier I took my daughter to Paris. Well, I didn't say that when we went to Paris, that was the week that ice showed up in Chicago and made life a living hell for a lot of people in this city. And I went to a place called the Busy Beaver Button and Merch Company in Logan Square, and they make these incredible signs and these buttons right here. So hands off Chicago. So I feel like hands off Chicago, man. So anyhow, that is the front porch conversation for today. Smoke 'em if you got 'em, my friends. And I will see you when I see you.